So hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to another NEARC Community event. My name is Katie Grillo, and I am your NEARC Board President. My other roles are I am the GIS Web Technology Specialist at the City of Cambridge, Massachusetts, and also an adjunct professor at Jefferson University, and hot off the press, and just starting a new teaching position at University of Richmond in Virginia. So really excited to be getting more involved with them as well. So this is a NEARC community event, and what that means is we are coming together as GIS professionals to kind of deep dive into a specific topic or theme. So today we're talking about the NEARC Board of Directors. So I'm joined by many of our board members, and what we're going to do is just kind of tell you a little bit more about us, what we do, and just have it be hopefully an informal opportunity for you to learn more and ask any questions. We do have 2 vacant board seats coming up at our fall conference. So this is also an opportunity for you to learn more about how you could potentially join our board at the fall conference. So taking a step back, though, I should say, what is NEARC? We are the Northeast ARC Users Group. I saw so many familiar names on the list that I didn't even mention this part because I think most of you are familiar with us by now. But we are a nonprofit organization based in New England plus New York, and we host 2 major conferences every year. So there's the one-day event in the spring, and then our main conference is in the fall. So it's a 3-day long event, which is literally 1 week away. So we will be at the Mount Washington Resort starting on Sunday, and Sunday through Wednesday, and really excited. We've got over 250 people registered for the conference this year. So really, really excited to see so many folks back in person again. So the way that today's event is going to work is that we're going to do a little bit of a overview. So we'll kind of go around. We've got a lot of our board members here today. So we'll explain a little bit about our roles and responsibilities and kind of what we do. And then talk about some of the additional sort of support and representation that's involved with our board. And then the second part of this event, we want to open it up. So we want to hear from you, kind of curious if you have any questions, curious to hear like why you're visiting us in this event today. Are you interested in joining the board? Do you have any questions? Like I said, just kind of keeping it informal. So with that, we can dive right in. So the board of directors, as I mentioned, we are a nonprofit organization. And so we do have a board of directors that helps to kind of keep things running, so to speak. So there are 7 of us on the board, and each one of these positions are voted in by our NEARC community members. So anyone that attends our conference is considered a member. And so all of you attending a NEARC event like this, you are members. We don't have any sort of membership fees or registration to join NEARC in that sense. It's an open community and all are welcome. So the board is voted in at the fall conference every year. And that always happens at the business meeting. So that's the opportunity for, and I'll explain this a little bit later. If you're interested in joining the board, then you do need to be in person at our fall conference in order to be nominated and subsequently voted onto the board. But so once somebody is voted on to join the board, it is a 2-year term. And there are a number of different appointed positions. So we have the president, we have the past president or past chair, there's the treasurer, the secretary, and then 3 kind of, we don't like to call them just board members, but they don't have a specific role or duty assigned to them. But so, as I mentioned, there are a lot of other things that go on. So we'll talk about kind of some of the things that those like other board members do. But so the presidential position is a 2-year term. So I'm your current board president, and we have Emily Wilson here, who is our past president. So as the president, it's kind of my role and responsibility to be sort of the face of NEARC. So if, you know, hosting different community events right now is something that I've taken on as president, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. But so right now it's kind of just the face of the organization. So you'll see me at the welcome sessions for our conferences. If there's ever any sort of like questions that come in from the public or questions that come in from vendors, they kind of come through me. I also work specifically with kind of negotiating and making sure that we have the fall and spring conferences settled. So for the fall, it's kind of helping to negotiate with hotel contracts, or for the spring, it's kind of working to make sure that we have a university that we're partnering with for the spring conference location. But good news is that we don't do this all on our own, because I'm not a full-blown event coordinator. As I mentioned, I'm a GIS nerd like the rest of you. So we do have a company called Delaney Meeting and Event Management. So as the president, it's also my role to coordinate with Delaney and make sure that that we've got everything sort of set up with the hotel and or the university for the spring conference. So kind of like the high level role, but I've always got my hands in different things. We do, as a board, we meet generally once a month just on Zoom. So it's also part of my responsibility to organize those board meetings and then set up the agenda and run through them, that kind of thing. So next, I'll pass it to Emily. You can say if I left anything out of that presidential requirements. But then Emily, if you want to talk a little bit about your experience as president and then your experience as past chair, that'd be great.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Emily Wilson, and I work at the University of Connecticut. And I have been in part of NEARC as an attendee for a lot of years before I was elected to the board. And I think this is my 7th year, and I only have a week left, which is pretty sad. So I look back, and so I was a member, I was secretary, and then I was chair and now past chair. And I've also been on the host chairs of several conferences, mostly the ones here in Connecticut, Fall NEARC and Spring NEARC. So I think it's really helpful as a board member if you have been on a host committee or two. If you haven't already, it's not a deal breaker for sure, but I do encourage, and I have been encouraging our newer board members to join host committees. And I think pretty much everybody has done that. So my role as past chair, which is my current chair, is pretty much to support Katie and the work of the board, mostly because now that I'm like the old one who's been around with the experience, just tune in to, you know, what I've learned in the past, what I've heard past board members say, and kind of carry the torch with some of our way we do things and philosophies, and also be open to new ideas and new ways, because we do have to continue to migrate and adapt as things change. COVID and going virtual being one major one that was thrown upon this board completely unexpectedly, but we all pulled together and made it happen. And of course, we couldn't have members who really believe in NEARC, and that's why we were willing to put our time into it. So I hope that's enough about the role. The past chair role is much different than some of the other very active roles on the board, but I very much enjoyed my time on the board and all the different roles that I've had. Anything else I missed, Katie?
No, I think that's good. Thank you. We will definitely miss you, Emily. It has been such a joy to have you, and definitely always grateful for your experience that you've had over the different years to be able to kind of guide some of us that are more newbies, so to speak, in the community. All right, Esther, can I pass it over to you to explain the treasurer role a bit, please?
Sure. Well, I'm Esther. I don't do GIS anymore. I do pipeline integrity management, but I did GIS for 15 years. This is how I got involved here. I think I've been on the board 6 years. That sounds about right. I was a member, and then I've been treasurer for 2 terms. I think it's all blending together. So I'm like Emily, have a week left, but I want to let people know what the treasurer does, because it sounds scarier than it is, because you do deal with all the money. So you do what you expect, you pay the bills. We have an accountant you work with to do taxes, which means you have to use QuickBooks, which I had no experience in, so it's not that hard. You can work through it fairly well. We're also responsible for ordering the Thatcher Award. Once that's given out, you have to order a real one to be sent to them. But I have that all figured out. Responsible for making sure we continue our nonprofit status. So you have to register with the state of Rhode Island once a year, pay them $200 and you are a nonprofit. So that works well. And then I also have to do the treasury reports for all the treasurers' meetings. So that's about where the treasurer work does. It's not too labor intensive. You do have to keep an eye on the money, and when people get really excited to spend it, let them know maybe you don't want to spend that much on that. But other than that, it's not too hard. They've enjoyed me because I'm cheap. So I keep everybody in line, but that's why we get to go to Mount Washington this year, because we've been budgeting. So if anybody's interested in treasure, wants some more information, I can fill you in more. I have files and files to hand off and a checkbook. Ready to
Yeah,
go.
so we do, yeah, thank you, Esther. And we do have, that's also a good thing to notice too, or to mention, is that we do also have a Google Drive account as a board. So we've got a ton of different documents and kind of try to document what we do, so that when the transition happens to a new individual, like for example, as Esther leaving her position as treasurer, that the next treasurer kind of has some cheat sheets and help documents to kind of get them up to speed with things like QuickBooks that you might not know anything about when you come in at first. So thank you, Esther. Brittany, can I pass it to you, please, to talk about secretary?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Brittany. I'm a climate resiliency specialist with a private coastal engineering firm, but I also do kind of lead our technical GIS protocols and QA/QC procedures for some of our model results. I joined the board, I think, with Katie 2018, and got voted into a second term, which is when I started my secretary position. My main responsibility is to really be the person who takes minutes for all of our board meetings before, during, and after our conferences. So our meetings that we have planning the conference, during our business meeting at the conference, and then our post-conference wrap-up meetings. So that's my main job, kind of documenting all of our tasks that we need to complete. Another role that I probably should do better on is managing our Google Drive, and making sure that it's organized and everything makes sense, and can have a thorough documentation of all of our meetings. So that's kind of what I do. Yeah. And I kind of did take on some scholarship roles, but I think that might transition to the treasurer once we get more board members.
Yes, that's a good thing to point out. We can talk about that in a little bit. But in terms of the Google Drive, it is something that we're trying to spread out to the whole board so that everyone is getting better at documenting what they do and documenting the conferences, because we, there's a lot that goes into planning these events. And so trying to make sure that we've got good record on hand is always important. But thank you, Brittany, for being a good reminder to us to do that. All right, so those are, as I said, those are the appointed positions on the board. But then we have 3 additional board members that are also very active and involved. So I'm wondering, Pam, can I pass it over to you to explain a little bit about your experience as a host committee liaison and how important that is for us?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Pam DeAndrea, and I work for the Vermont Agency of Transportation as a GIS professional, and I've been on the board since 2020, and have really tried to be a liaison at the host committees for the conferences, which is really, really important, because what I do is I attend all the, help facilitate the host committee meetings and bring back to the host committees what some things are on the board may impact what they want to do and things that we need to decide on, so that the host committee really keeps in mind what NEARC is and what NEARC isn't, and what we can do and what we can't do, and also help to rein in those costs as well, keeping in mind, you know, Esther's voice in the back of my head as well, and past experiences from, you know, when I hear things from Katie or Emily in a particular board meeting, bringing that back, and the whole board bringing that back to the host committee meetings. So there really needs to be somebody from the board at the host committee meetings, just so that, you know, we plan this per NEARC and our goals and responsibilities and all of that, and what we're really meant to be as an organization as well. So it's been a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of people throughout the area, throughout the region, and be part of, you know, learning about what other people do in other areas. Like, I didn't know what folks down in Massachusetts did a lot until I was on the Westfield committee, and now being on the one for New Hampshire, I'm meeting a lot of folks from New Hampshire. So it's been great to be that liaison person. But those are the main things. And I've also been helping a little bit. We have a initiative that we're trying to get an ArcGIS hub site up, and we have an intern now that's been helping us with that. So I've been helping that effort as well. So I've been trying to dip my toes in a few different things at NEARC, but that's about it.
Yeah,
did I miss anything there, Katie?
No, that's great. Thank you. And I will talk about the website and AGOL in just a little bit, but I should say, just kind of like high level, I didn't mention this earlier, but for these conferences that we are hosting, the spring and the fall, part of that is we have a host committee for each conference. And so the host committee they'll have a host chair, or like a lead person that kind of takes the reins for that particular conference. And then there's anywhere between like 10 and 20 different people that volunteer to join the host committee. So the host committee is planning the conference, and the board is more so running the organization as a whole. And so it's important that we have board members on the host committee, as Pam said, to make sure that we're bridging that gap and keeping a good communication flow, and then also making sure that the host committee has some guidance on kind of how the general structure of the spring versus the fall conferences. So, and Pam has been great she's been super excited to join us. She said, to like meet new people. And it's also a great thing for new board members to be that liaison, because you get to see a lot of both sides and learn a lot about the organization from the board side, and then also a lot from the host committee side. So we do encourage new board members, especially, to join host committees. But as Emily said, it's always great if you are new to NEARC. Joining a host committee is a great way to learn more about what goes into making all this happen.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, Katie, that it also helps to outline, you know, what responsibilities are the host committees and what falls on the board for every conference. Because I think a lot, you know, those lines can get muddled, and just bringing to the host committee, actually, that's something that you should be doing as the host committee, and not expect the board to do it or Delaney management to do it. So there's, you know, and Delaney joins those host committee meetings as well to help navigate questions about, you know, the venue place where we have it, you know, the rooms, the food, the lodging, all of that information.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Pam. All right, so next up, I'm going to pass it to Erica to talk a little bit about initiative that she's been working on for like higher education and education engagement.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erica. I work for the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation in Central Massachusetts. So I'm one of the regular board members, or the non-seated board members, but something that I've been trying to work on since I've been on the board is higher ed engagement. I'm really interested in seeing how we can get more professors and college students involved in our conferences. I think they really have a lot to add to our community, and I feel like they're a bit underrepresented at some of our conferences. So I've been trying to, you know, have some strategies to reach out to people in higher education to get their participation in our conferences. And it's been a mixed bag of success, but it's something that I want to continue to try to improve upon for the NEARC community. Did I kind of touch on everything that Katie?
Yeah, that's great, Eric. Thank you. And I guess one thing to mention is that we do for the spring conference, generally speaking, that's always hosted at a university. And so it's a great opportunity for us to connect with a local university and hopefully get more of those students involved. But it's also important to try to get more students from all over the Northeast involved. So we're really appreciative to Erica for some of the foundation that she's trying to pull together of just having contacts at different universities and just getting some better methods for outreach and engagement. So if anyone is in higher ed or in education, then please reach out to Erica, because we're always looking for kind of advice or different methods, or what can we be doing differently to get more students or to help support higher ed, that kind of thing. So thank you, Erica. And we don't have Nate with us today, so I will be kind of filling in from his perspective. So Nate Ward is another one of our board members, and he is a system architecture and GIS administrator at Tarragon. And he has been kind of filling in a section that we call like the online platform manager. So we do have a NEARC website, and Nate has been helpful to make sure that some of the content on our website stays relevant and gets updated. He does work with the folks at Delaney for that. So the Delaney meeting and event management, they manage a lot of the website content in terms of like a specific conference. So ensuring that we have a conference application like Sketch, for example, and have all of the like sponsor details and all that kind of stuff set up for a conference. But the other sections of the website is really what Nate has been helping to manage. And then the other piece of it as well that Pam touched on a little bit earlier is that we are a ArcGIS user group. And so we've been working more closely with Esri in the last few months to see if we can get ourselves set up with a ArcGIS Online organization for NEARC. It just seems like a no-brainer, right? That we should have a NEARC hub site or some sort of EGAL maps or resources surrounding some of our conferences and that kind of thing. So Nate has been helping to kind of get that set up. And we do, for the first time ever, have a NEARC intern. So individual named Ryan, who was actually an intern at Esri, has volunteered to help kind of bridge the gap between Esri and NEARC to get this ArcGIS Online organization set up. So the EGAL org will hopefully be going live, at least just kind of bare bones live in the next few weeks. And our goal is to, as I said, kind of put some more conference details on there. So seems a little crazy to me that we are GIS organization and yet we don't have like a map of where all of our people are located, or like for the different conferences, like who's registering, where are they located. So there's a great opportunity for us to integrate more of our data and resources into ArcGIS Online. So Nate has been helping us with that. Other board members, did I miss anything else from Nate's perspective? He's also been a liaison for the host committees, which has been great as well. So
yeah, that's what I was going to add.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, I saw you. Yeah. Great. So the last thing is the community events. So this is something that I've been taking the lead on for the last couple of years. So when we made the pivot to virtual, it was really just a opportunity for us as a community to try to get together between between the major conferences. So the community events are, generally speaking, it's once a month, and we are kind of mixing in a few different things. So we've got we've again kind of done a partnership with Esri, where they have agreed to host a workshop every like 8 or so weeks, or like every other month. So been working with our friends at Esri to get those set up, and some of those topics have been like deep dives into ArcGIS Online, or we did a like a machine learning AI session with them. So it's more of like the techie sort of workshops. And then we also are always looking for people from the community that are kind of working on some sort of interesting or engaging topics. So reaching out to different members of the community if we see that they're working on a project that might make for a good community event. These are designed to really be more engaging and give folks the opportunity to kind of discuss or talk about different topics. And then the last type of community events are in-person Mappy hours. So we've hosted a few of those this year, and we have heard from you all that you want more. So the idea is that we'll start hosting more in-person Mappy hours, kind of rotating through some spots in the Northeast. So that's the community events. And then just a few other little pieces I want to touch on is we've mentioned Delaney meeting and event management. So we've been working with Leslie Pelch has been our event coordinator liaison for, gosh, what, Emily, the past like 10 years or something. So she
More than that.
yeah. So Leslie used to be a GIS professional and then ended up switching over to do event coordination. And so she's been with NEARC first as a GIS attendee and now as our coordinator. So she is a wealth of knowledge just about the history of this organization, history of conferences. So it's been a great pleasure to work with her over the years. And then we do, of course, we are an ArcGIS user group. We partner very heavily with Esri. And so we work very closely with a number of different Esri staff members who have been working with us, like Leslie, for many, many years. And then the last but not least, I want to give a shout out to Bill, who's our legal secretary. So he is another volunteer member that sits as our legal representation. So he helps to make sure that we are kind of doing what we need to do just to stay a nonprofit and also kind of assists the board with any sort of like contract review, negotiation, or if there's ever an issue for legal representation or legal disputes, then Bill is our go-to for that. So that's us in a nutshell. And now I kind of want to open it up. I'm curious if anybody has any questions right now, kind of about what we do or any of the initiatives that we talked about.
Hi, Katie. This is Jenny Byron from Narissa. I'm not on video just because I've got a sick little one at home right now, but I just want to say this was great, and I'm kind of jealous because we have not done this. We sort of talked about things when we do ours, so this was really informative and broke down all of the different ways that you can be involved in NEARC. Is there, so like on average, what is like a, if you had to say how much time you spend in a month towards NEARC, like how much should people be estimating before they volunteer? You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you, Jenny, for joining. So Jenny is the president of the NEARC group. And something that I didn't really mention is that we're always trying to kind of collaborate and connect with other local groups. So Jenny and I have been having our little like presidential one-on-ones once a month. It's been a true joy to get to know you, Jenny. Thank you for showing up and being supportive.
The feeling is mutual.
Yes.
And I would strongly encourage anybody joining the board to do the same thing with the NERISTA president as well, because it's just such a great way to collaborate and find ways that you can promote each other's events. And, really we tend to be more professional development, and NEARC tends to be more technical knowledge building. So we can complement each other really well.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. And so your question was kind of about expectations in terms of like number of hours. And Emily and I can probably attest to the last few years have been a bit of a whirlwind with all of the COVID pivoting and such. But I would say now we're kind of getting back into our groove again. And so things will hopefully be settling a little bit. So I generally, it's maybe like maybe like a few hours each week. It depends a little bit on your role and then what else is happening around that particular time. You know, like right now we're in crunch time. So we're approaching the conference. The fall conference is our big event. So we had a 2-hour-long board meeting yesterday. We're doing an event like this today. So this week we might be pushing higher up into like 4 or 5 hours for the week, just to make sure we're all prepped for the conference. But I would say, generally speaking, it's just around like an hour or two per week to just kind of make sure that you're staying on top of your particular role. And then also there's always some emails and things like that coming in. I don't know if anyone else from the board wants to speak to their experience on that.
I was going to agree with that. I mean, I think definitely, especially in the fall, when in my role, kind of increasing my role in scholarships, you know, I had to spend time reviewing scholarships. And so it was definitely like an hour or two a week. Maybe our summer is more of a low spot, but definitely crunch time, the 2 months leading up to the conferences for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will add to that. And then if you are on the host committees, you know, that's you're leading up to the conferences, you're attending those meetings, not just your board meetings. So, you know, there's more time during the day instead of maybe after hours doing different things. But that's really, and those get more frequent leading up, where it just sort of starts out as a month, like for the spring, you know, we start as maybe a monthly meeting after the holidays, and then it gets a little bit more intense after that, and the same with the fall. So yeah, it really depends on when the conference is and what your role is. And I'm sure Esther can speak about, you know, what her duties are and when it gets intense and not intense. But, you know, mostly if you're just, you know, a new board member, you know, it's mostly just really attending those meetings during the times that they get scheduled. So.
Yeah, as treasurer, it's probably about the same. It's definitely busier this time of year. You get a little busy when they start looking at contracts for new locations, because you're going to be asked, what do you think of the finances of that? But month to month, if it's August, it's a board meeting and I write a check to Delaney. And that's pretty much all you do. Tax time, it's, if you keep up with QuickBooks every week, every month, that I may or may not have done that in the regular, they use that for the taxes. That's what that's for. So as long as you get that done for nonprofit taxes aren't due till May, you're good. In the company we work with, they're very good at, they ask questions. If something doesn't make sense, they'll look into things for you. So yeah, it's busy time. It's a couple hours a week.
Erica, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just going to say, you know, this year I wasn't on a host committee, and, you know, it definitely decreases the amount of time you're spending. So if you're kind of like the regular board member and you're not on a host committee, I would say, you know, a few hours a month. It's not a burden.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate hearing everyone's perspectives, because it really is the type of thing where you can kind of make this what you want. And like even just using the community events as an example, that wasn't something I had to do. I just was really excited about it. So I did end up putting in more hours to make that happen. But that was something that I wanted to do, you know, and like Erica being passionate about higher education and Pam wanting to learn more about the host committee. So it's really, there is a lot of autonomy in the sense that yes, there's things that we have to do and we have to get done, but we really welcome your passion and enthusiasm to help shape your experience on this board and to help shape your kind of impact, if you will, on the organization as a whole. So thank you, Jenny. That's a great question. Any other questions?
My
right now?
pleasure. So I was just going to say, you know, to that point of having some sort of I would say like your passion or what it is that you're looking to do within the organization, like that's really helpful. And you can kind of glean that from how others are working on the board. That's what I've noticed, at least with, you know, NEARC. I was really focused on trying to get some community events again, you know, because of COVID, it was really tough, very isolating. Let's try to get people back together. And that was my thing. But like you said, you can take something you're interested in and run with it. And that's the great thing about these volunteer boards.
I'm curious if unless there's other questions, I would love to hear from some of you that are here, just kind of learn about why you're here. Are you interested in joining the board? Are you just curious about learning more? Oh, we got 8 popping in. So I don't know if anybody wants to share, or we can do a quick round the room.
Yeah,
Robert?
I'll share quick.
Thanks.
I started getting involved in NEARC at the recommendation of my predecessor in the town of Rockport. He said it was a great opportunity to meet other GIS folks and all that, and I was able to virtually attend the conference last year, and sort of was encouraged to be involved in the host committee for last spring meeting, but had a baby due, I think, within a week of the date of the meeting, so that definitely wasn't happening. But now he's home healthy and 6 months old. So I'm looking to, potentially become involved with either the spring host committee or possibly the board, and just wanted to get an idea of the hearing from some of the people as to what the time commitment is and things like that is definitely helpful, because I'm balancing a lot of different time commitments right now. So just trying to get a general idea of the operation of the board and what the general time commitment is, and then also what some of the objectives are. It was cool to hear Erica talk a little bit about getting higher education more involved, because that was one of the highlights of my undergrad, is I got to go to, was a fish and wildlife major. So I got to go to the Wildlife Society conference every year, and then presented at a landscape ecology conference and a natural history conference my senior year. It was really cool to have those experiences, and I think it's poster presentations especially are a great opportunity to get undergrads who are doing interesting stuff the ability to present and to sort of get used to that, especially if they want to pursue it further on in their career.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. I remember you almost joining the committee and then being like, oh, I'm gonna have a baby. So congratulations again on that. Ben, don't want to put you on the spot, but are you interested in explaining a little why you're here, or if you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I actually just kind of wanted to just check it out and see how, how the group was organized, and see how, everyone's kind of roles. And I'm new to this. I've only been here, about 2 months. So, I just kind of wanted to get a feel for the group and see what was going on. And I wanted to, kind of put a name with the faces for NEARC next week. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I appreciate all the information from everybody today. It was very helpful.
Awesome, thank you. And I can put Andrew on the spot, although I might have a guess as to why you're here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just showing up to hear about kind of the other board positions, particularly since I work with Katie, so I hear a lot about what the president does. So it's kind of interesting to hear about what everyone else on the board is up to.
Thanks, Andrew. And Nate, hi, welcome. We already did a little overview of kind of all of our different roles and responsibilities. So I did your intro for you, but I don't know if you want to say hi to everybody.
Hey, everyone. Thanks, Katie. Can you hear me?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be on the board and knowing all the ins and outs of how it works and working with everyone here. It's a pleasure. So great to see everyone else on the call. Sorry, I couldn't make it earlier.
No, it's all good. Thank you. So I guess unless there's any other questions or anything other folks from the board want to mention, then
I want to mention one thing that is really nice about being on this board is that I've had a lot of support. I've had a job previous, I started a new job a year ago, and both of my employers were like, you take the time you need for NEARC because, as long as it's really important. That organization is really important for professional development. So I just wanted to plug that out, that, you know, your employers probably will be very supportive if, you know, you need to take an hour here or there for a meeting. And then the other thing is, it's all of our meetings are virtual. It's an opportunity to be on, except for when we're at the conferences, of course, but it's an opportunity to be on a board and make it easy parenting wise. So as being a parent on the board, you know, who's been on for a few years, and I do have one kid's out of the house now, but I do still have another one here. So, you know, it is, I know I can feel that, oh God, what do I have time? I have a baby. So, you know, this is something that may be more doable than, you know, being on a community board where you have to actually leave at night and go to something like that. And that's one thing I really like about being part of NEARC. It's an organization that I can be part of and still be home for my kids, except for the conferences, which I would go to anyway. So and leave them.
I was gonna add, I think most of our meetings are during the normal like 8 to 5 business day. So there's no like meeting at 8 o'clock at night, and you know, so it's nice that you can just fit it in with your normal work schedule.
Yeah, we do a lot of lunch sessions where we don't judge you if you turn off your camera to eat.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the highlights for me of the community events, is I can always just, you know, sit in my office and eat my lunch during, or you know, depending on whether or not I need the extra time. Sometimes I do take my lunch after, because I'll call it you know, a professional meeting that you know, it's part of work. But yeah, I definitely appreciate the lunchtime meetings, and it makes it much easier to fit them into the schedule for sure.
Yeah, thank you. And that's good feedback in general for these community sessions, because we have been trying to mix it up with different hours, but it seemed like the lunchtime session was what people were most able to join and most excited for. So that's good feedback too. Thank you. So kind of just want to talk a little bit in just the few minutes we have left here is kind of like steps moving forward. So if people are interested in getting involved, then there's a number of different ways that you can do that. The first way is if you want to join a host committee, then we are going to be in the process of setting up the spring host committee in hopefully the next few weeks. Generally speaking, these conferences, they're pretty constant because we've got the big one in the fall, but as soon as the fall ends, then we're already looking ahead to spring and vice versa. So it is a little bit of like a constant cycle that we're in, which for you all is good opportunity that there's lots of different chances for you to get involved every year. So we will be forming the spring host committee soon, and we already have the fall location picked as well. So we'll be in New Haven, Connecticut this year, and we're also pulling together the host committee for that conference too. So now that we do so much of this planning virtually, we do generally hope that people that join the host committee at least have some familiarity with that location. Like, so for example, for New Haven, we are looking for some people that could maybe help. They know the local area, so they could help with the dine around, for example. But anyone from anywhere can join a host committee regardless of where you call your home base. So the host committees are one opportunity coming up. And then as we mentioned at the fall conference, we will have these 2 vacant board seats. So Emily and Esther will be leaving us. I think those of us on the board are much more sad than they might be at this point, but they have served a great long time with this organization. We are so grateful for them, and definitely sad to see them go, but it does make space for 2 new individuals to join us. So the process for that is you do need to be present at the fall conference. You need to attend the board meeting or the business meeting, which is on Monday. And you need to either be nominated or you can nominate yourself. And the way that nomination process works is first the nomination happens, and then once we have all the nominations in, then we will go back around the room, and anyone that's nominated will have the opportunity to just speak for a few minutes to say kind of why you're interested in joining. So it's good to know that, because I don't think I knew that when I was first nominated. And then all of a sudden I was put on the spot to give like a little speech of why I wanted to do this. So just a fair warning that you will need to stand up in front of the room and just tell people what gets you excited, why you want to be here, why you want to be on the board. I promise it's not so scary. And then after that, we open up the voting. And so everyone that attends the conference has the opportunity to vote for these new board seats. And we announced the 2 new board members on Tuesday. Tuesday at the banquet.
I
and then
will
it-
say that
Yes.
if you are interested, write up a little something about yourself, because I always have a little write up about you at the desk where you vote. And it's really annoying trying to write up that little blurb about yourself in the middle of the hotel in your awful handwriting, or you can't print it out, or whatever it may be. So if you know you're interested, just come prepared with that little who you are, why you're interested write up, so you won't have to panic come Monday afternoon.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you, Esther. Yeah, so we do put a little blurb up so that the people that are voting can read your little blurb. And if you have a little picture in Sketch or something like that, then we can use that picture to put kind of the name, the face next to the name kind of thing. Yes, and so then when the 2 new board members are voted on, then it's tradition that on Wednesday, when the fall conference ends, that the board has a lunch together. And this is opportunity for new board members to just sit down and meet each other. So a little bit of introductions, and then we really just dive in from there. So if there are any additional seats that need to be voted. So this year, for example, this is my last year as president. So at that Wednesday lunchtime board meeting, there will be a new nomination and vote for the president. And then because Esther is leaving us as treasurer, there will be a new vote for treasurer this year as well. So as I mentioned earlier, the people vote on the board, and then the board votes in the positions that are there. And yeah, any other things? Did I miss anything? All right, so this event here, as I mentioned, is being recorded. So I will post this recording up to our website, and I'll also send out a follow-up email after this event that will have a link to this recording and a few other links. I'll include, all of our bios are on the NEARC website. So if you want to learn more about any one of us or what we do, then you can see some of those details on our website. And we're super excited for the fall conference. So excited to see so many of you there in person next week. And there will be more community events coming down the line as well. So as I said earlier, people have been requesting more in-person Mappy hours. So we will be coordinating some of those and teaming up with our friends at NEARC to help kind of collaborate on some of these in-person events or some of the virtual events for the community sessions. So stay tuned for more of that. With that, any other final closing comments from the board or final questions from attendees?
Thanks to everybody who came.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. This is the first time we've done this, so a little bit of an experiment, but hopefully those of you that are here got something out of it. And our virtual doors and next week our physical doors will be open. So come say hi if you've got any questions, and we would love to have you join us. So thank you.